All right, guys, welcome to the Flip Texas podcast. I'm your host, Ben Naumann here, and I am excited to be here with Chai and Prakash. These are very humble guys, but they actually quit their corporate jobs, went into full-time real estate. Their background is in actually commercial apartments, and they have been doing big deals all the way from Beaumont, Texas to San Marcos, Texas, I believe, and excited to chat with y'all today.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having us here.
Well, commercial apartments is how we started out, and we thought single family would make lot more sense, and we'll talk about all that. But just to
did y'all personal question here? Did y'all kind of like watch a little bit of that like Grant Cardone, like you have to invest in apartments when y'all got into that, or how did? Tell me about how did y'all get started in real estate, and how did y'all get started to where you are?
So Prakash and I met like through some common friends, like in our Indian circles here in Houston, and we clicked in terms of like starting a business, and we like brainstormed about a bunch of different ideas, and then decided to start what we know best, is IT servicing company coming from India. So
Okay.
We found a bunch of talent back home, and then started doing these IT servicing contracts with some companies and some older people, and then ran into some issues with that. So we had to close that down after like 4 or 5 months, I guess,
Yeah.
right? So that was the end of that, and then we were again back to the drawing board looking for other businesses to do, and we came across this house in Pearland on HR.com, full retail price, 200,000 in Shadow Creek, and we were like, this is it.
This is it.
So went after that, like calculated like all the numbers, like went over it 1,000 times, and we were like, great. The mortgage payment is $1,750 and our rent is $1,650. So we only pay $100 out of pocket.
And then 30 years
30 years later.
Wait, the rent was $100 more, or the $100 less? The rent
Less.
was $100
Less.
Okay, so you're paying $100 a month.
Yeah, so
without the repairs to
Yeah.
keep the property.
That's how naive we were.
that's how naive we were, and we thought that was a great deal. Man, we live in Texas. This cannot happen anywhere else. We both actually, he also has some investments back in India, and I do as well, and a 200,000 house in India rents for like $300 or $400 if you're in Mumbai.
Y'all were telling me about that, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So compared to that, like $1,650 is like, we are minting money, right? Like, it's a lot. So we were like this close to actually pulling the trigger on this, because we were just, like I said, we were back to drawing board, trying to figure out what business to get into. And then sure enough, like I ran into someone in like my family, friends, there was this get together, and I met someone, and I told them this idea, and she was like, are you crazy? Like this is not how real estate works.
Like the idea about renting properties out, or that you only have
So
to pay.
you need to stop talking and stop thinking and go to this place.
Lifestyle Unlimited.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
that's how y'all got into the apartments,
Yeah.
through Lifestyle Unlimited.
So we actually single family and apartment complexes.
So I went to Lifestyles, and we both did this 2-day seminar. There is a free seminar, and then they make you pay for like $500 2-day course. And we were sold, and then then we figured out, okay, this is not how you buy, and then we figured out what cash flow is, and we understood what depreciation means. So that kind of impressed us, and then we started looking for the right deals, and even then we didn't start any company or anything. So he like followed more of a retail, like real estate agent.
I got some.
Yeah.
I got my agent license. Then I bought my first rental. I still have it.
Yeah.
And same tenants. They've never missed the payment.
Wow, okay.
So, and then I think 2018. That's when we.
Yeah.
After
So
I
I joined Lifestyles in the meantime, and I started thinking about becoming a lead investor in apartments. So that's where I met someone who is one of the best people in town that nobody knows of, and one of the biggest wholesalers in town that nobody knows of is Moon Kim. I mean, a lot of people know him, but he's not on Facebook, or like newbies never heard of him. So Moon kind of got us like really started in wholesaling.
The commercial is a little more like, would you say, a little more of like a close-knit circle in commercial kind of?
Yeah, so
like,
the commercial part was more, I mean, it's still interesting as of today, but and if we started in commercial back then big time, it would have worked out just like this. But the problem back then was, I mean, it needs lot of I mean, yeah, it needs lot of I mean, it needs working with other people. You need investors in your business, so you're managing expectations. So we call it more of a white collar real estate.
Mm-hmm.
What we do in single family is more of a blue collar real estate. But there is nobody to answer to, and there is lot of like you can do a lot of creative things in single family compared to multifamily, which is where we thought our expertise lie better. So we tried that for a couple years. We figured out what wholesaling is. We bought few properties, and then in 2018 we actually decided to make it official and formed a company to do wholesaling. Until then we were just doing wholesaling to buy our own properties. Like he was doing like MLS scraping, I was doing letters, but everything we were doing was just to keep the properties. And that's pretty much the goal still. But along the way we learned about wholesaling, did wholesale probably like 50-60 properties to date, at least out of maybe 200-300 we've touched. But most of it we like to keep or
Rent it, flip it,
hold it,
finance it.
yeah.
We don't like wholesaling a lot. It's
Nice.
And then to answer your question, right? So 2018 is when we got our first multifamily deal.
Yeah, tell
in
me.
Beaumont.
Okay, there's a lot of people, probably people on this live right now, that they're in single family and they're trying to do their first multifamily deal. They've been talking about multifamily for years. They've been going to the conferences, they've been reading the books, but they haven't done their first multifamily deal. What do you say to those people? How did y'all get in on your first deal when other people are having trouble getting their first multifamily deal?
So
What did that one look like?
So this owner was actually selling his distressed house.
Single family.
Single family house. And the price did not make sense. They wanted almost market price for something that needed work. So I was having conversation with them. It turned out they have 180 units in Beaumont. So we basically gave them the price they wanted on their single family. We'll buy it. They wanted to see if we can actually close.
Uh-huh.
And then we closed it in like 5 to 6 days. We closed it cash. And the day we closed, the next day she took us to the properties and we signed both 120 unit and 80 unit apartment complex. So it was, and then there's a big story to that. The price was high. We had to run our numbers and renegotiate. But it all went
We've
well.
done another podcast with Brent Daniels,
Uh-huh.
just talking about that one deal.
Yep.
It was a pretty, crazy roller coaster of a time at that time, and we survived.
Figuring out
Yeah.
how, like, because if I remember right, you kind of like have to, you have your initial numbers, right, and then you need to do your further due diligence,
Yeah.
analyze the rents, like all this
Yeah,
stuff.
the occupancy
paperwork.
was not what they claimed. Less than half the people were paying. So it was really bad. But it all worked out at the end of the day.
So it's like a really big value add to you.
Yeah, so I came from this lifestyle background, and then we went to this house. This lady comes in a Bentley and walks out, and I was like, this looks interesting. And then she's like, oh, we have this 180 unit, and both of our eyes popped. Oh, okay, tell us more about that. Don't worry about the house, we got it already. So then she's like, oh, I need, I think she wanted 5.5 million for full deal, and we ended up negotiating it down to 4.3 later.
It's the seller of the property in Beaumont. She was
Yeah.
driving a Bentley.
Yeah. I mean, they
Tell me
they
about
had
this lady.
assets
So this
all
was
over.
like this is like just an old white lady or like what?
No, it was a black couple, and they were from California, and they owned assets all over America.
Yeah, they had
And,
high positions in Bank of America.
yeah.
That's where they retired.
Really?
And they had bought these properties like, was in late 90s
And-
And were they just like older and
Oh, very old.
and they just didn't keep up with like the management of the property? They didn't stay on top
Yes.
of that property
So
there.
Pretty
one
much,
of
yeah.
the property we signed with patent title,
Uh-huh.
and he was in ICU.
Yeah.
And
Who's in ICU?
the seller was, and the wife called us,
Like
and they
5 days before closing.
and they expedited the closing, like he might pass away.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
that's
they
crazy.
pushed us to close. He's still there. He's doing well,
Yeah.
but they had some family plans, so they wanted to sell and close it before.
It was so much drama that like you can make a movie out of that whole story.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm sure it's better. The drama on that deal probably was worth
Oh well.
a lot of drama on one single family deal or one
Yeah.
townhouse or something.
So we brought in one of the best guys from Lifestyles in as our lead investor, because we did not have background managing this bigger deal. So we brought him in, and we syndicated the deal, and he did as well. So he brought his investors, and we had couple, and we put this deal together, giving him the royalty for managing the deal.
Nice.
2 years later, he actually had a lot of issues with the deal because of many reasons, but the deal was not valued where we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So we actually ended up buying that deal back from our partnership and then wholesaled it again in 2021.
Wow.
So
Don't get too complicated on these people, but
So-
once you bought it, then you held it, then you sold it again.
So my point is, like, what you can do in single family can also be done in multifamily, and that's where we are interested if at all we do commercial. But otherwise, what you do in single family, and a lot of people don't like it in multifamily world, but in single family there is a saying like money is made on day one, like when you buy a wholesale deal, because you already bought it 50 grand lower or whatever your number is, and it is a hustle strategy. I mean, as you get older and you want more assets and play more long-term games, that's when commercial makes sense. But while we are energetic and excited about this business and passionate, I think we would stay in single
And
family.
it's good to start, right? Multifamilies are hard to find, then you have to fund the deal, find investors. Single family is a lot more flexible, so smaller price point, so it's easier to start with.
Yeah.
So and then it got us excited, and then we've probably done. So we've been to like 4 years in the business. We have done over 250 properties.
Okay.
That includes wholesale, flip, and then
Yeah,
we
wholesale, flip, we do other things as well.
I
we
like
hold some of them. We started doing notes recently this year because we all
Yeah.
know cash flow. Properties don't cash flow.
You're also starting
Yeah.
the wraps and notes, right?
Yes. I agree with you all 100% on that. I think that the deal structuring is really important. We can kind of get into that. So that's awesome. So went from the apartments now to just really enjoying the structure, enjoying like the structuring and the creative
Yeah.
financing. Tell me. So, what do you think kind of propelled y'all quicker? Did you just keep doing these single family deals along the way, or what specifically moved y'all from rental? Like, where did y'all get up to in rentals, and then why did you transition from that strategy in the rentals to more?
So we were, I think, till last year we had over 60 rentals. And then, we saw what happened in last 6 months, right? Interest rates are like 7% for homestead now. And if you go as an investor, you look at 8 to 9%. So and then the prices were high, they don't cash flow.
Taxes are really high.
Taxes are really high, cash flowing. And most of our assets we bought in between 2018 to 20 at $150,000. They are now closer towards $300,000, but our rents are like $100 higher maybe. So
Are you too nice with them? You gotta bump that up.
yeah,
No, we are bumping it up, but there is only so much you can bump up
do.
in the rents. Also, important thing to note is when you buy low and then 3 years later, especially with COVID, values just like skyrocketed. So a lot of our values like went up by 100 grand. So all that equity or the appreciation is all locked in. There is no note on it. There is nothing you can do about it. If you try to refinance, interest rates are high.
So how are you gonna put? That's a good question too. Like, how are you gonna put it to that equity to best use? Like, is it just debt? Is it just debt equity sitting in the properties, or do you believe that you should? And there's different strategies out there. Do you think that you should always be selling and buying, or y'all saying, moving up in properties, or selling and buying, or some people, I guess, they just buy these rental properties and they just pay them off and just sit on them forever.
So we like cash flow. So that's our favorite thing. So what we have done, the equity that we have gained in the last 3 years is now making any money. So in the last 3-4 months, we started converting them into owner finance.
Okay. For the because you're saying that the owner financing is giving you, I believe what you told me, 3 times the amount of cash flow.
Oh yeah.
Plus.
3 times or more. No repairs.
So you have, and we don't have to get into details of owner financing and how it's done, but just on the face of it, if you have a property you bought for 150 and you put a loan of 150 if you were lucky, and now if it's worth 250, 300, and you owner finance it at 10% interest rate, all that equity that is trapped in starts making you money at 10% interest rate. Just that's the simple logic to think about.
So your equity is starting to make you more money.
Yes.
Yeah. So to answer your earlier question, you said, are we selling and buying more? Yes and no. We don't sell anything unless it's owner finance, and we sell everything owner finance because we don't want to jeopardize cash flow. We don't want to pay more taxes. We don't want
It's
to.
a great topic. 'Cause it's the time of year where it's the time of year for a lot of business owners to to talk about taxes, to think about taxes. I know we just hopefully everyone here just filed their taxes recently. I just rushed to send all my stuff off, and make sure you get your K1s in, guys.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. But now's the time too for the end of the year. Like, hey, do I need to buy more properties before the end of the year, or strategies?
Yeah.
Do you have any tips that you can give people on tax strategies? You're saying just keep.
Again, there is nothing. If you buy so much closer to the end of the year, there is, no great. Not
You
much
cannot get
benefit.
depreciation, right?
Yeah, you don't only
have to
get.
hold it the entire
Yeah.
calendar year.
You can, but it's only for 2 months. It's very little, unless whatever you sold, you actually planned your 1031 and then you're buying before the end of the year. That's a different story. But if you did not plan your 1031, buying closer to end of the year versus buying in general is no different.
Okay.
Yeah, but for taxes, we have a wholesaling company, so we prepay a lot of our costs
Yeah,
for next year, just to
that's one
save,
thing you
save
can
some.
do for sure.
But yeah, best thing is not to sell your property, right?
So
Cash.
when you're selling them, when you're selling these rentals, say for instance you bought, you're saying 40 plus rentals, and you're saying I think you even said 60, but you're saying you have a rental property that's 150,000, and the equity's gone up $100,000 plus. You're saying as opposed to selling it and taking all that cash, paying taxes on it, you're saying you're selling on the seller financing for a tax benefit. That's just, can you explain the taxes? That's just getting taxed out over a longer time frame, or can you kind of explain to people that?
So when you sell something on owner financing or seller financing, you don't really evade taxes. That's not the intent. You're not everybody has to pay the tax. Like when whoever is holding the ball is paying the tax.
When you receive it is the key word though.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that,
But when you sell something on owner financing, you just, like, instead of paying taxes in that 1 year on 50,000, you're spreading it over 30 years.
Kick it down so
Yeah.
Yeah.
spread it out.
and then you know,
Yeah.
you have expenses in those years to kind of offset it because
Yeah.
you're going to have your company expenses.
Yeah.
So you are more under control.
Yeah.
And then you have your cash flow.
And if you have to pay more taxes, that's always a good problem to have. I mean, you shouldn't be like ultra focused on, oh, how do I not pay taxes? Like,
Before making money.
Instead,
so you're saying
like,
make
how
it
do I-
money first,
Yeah.
then we'll focus on like
paying taxes is okay. Like, you can just,
That means
you
you had a
can,
good
yeah,
year.
yeah. But yeah, it's called installment method in the IRS guidelines.
Yep.
And you need to know the right CPA who knows how to manage it, because it gets a little
Just like a bookkeeping.
complicated. Yeah. How you, because some portion, maybe equity, some portion maybe your cost of purchase, so it gets very complicated.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's awesome. How, and then tell me, so what do you think, this is a good question here. Going from Beaumont, starting to do deals in Beaumont, now all the way to the Hill Country, San Marcos, what do you think about the different areas in Texas? Do y'all prefer certain markets in Texas? And if people have deals to send to y'all, here, are you buying in certain areas? And what's y'all's criteria now for buying?
So we buy in all the major cities in Houston, in Texas. So we'll buy, in Houston we'll also buy flips because we still flip. And then in San Antonio and Dallas, our focus is on subjectives.
Okay.
And Austin.
Nice.
Yeah, so we are focusing on major cities for now, but we are gonna narrow down some smaller cities where there is something special about it, like San Marcos. There is, of course everybody knows San Marcos in Texas, and there is New Braunfels there, and like anything around Austin, because Austin is like red hot.
We're talking about Lockhart. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But around Austin, like up to Bastrop, and then up near Temple, and we have a couple deals in Clean right now.
That's a cheap
Yeah.
area. That's a. I feel like
Killeen
there's some value there.
has a military base there, so it's a pretty active market. Not that you don't want to owner finance. They are not going to buy, military people are not going to buy on owner finance because of their VA benefits. They get much better
Yeah.
deal.
Okay.
But because of military base, there is a lot of activity, and the economy is fairly
You can get good
active.
rental
Yeah.
there.
You can get, even if you buy anything in Killeen, you can rent it at a decent price, and if you rent it to someone who is in the military, a lot of your rent is pretty much guaranteed. So that's good thing. But the reason we are going out in these markets is not for rentals. We are buying everything outside of Houston, 100% for owner financing.
Okay, so
Okay,
you'll enter the property, say subject to or a non-QM
Buy.
loan or a conventional loan or cash or whatever that
Yeah.
method is. And then you're saying in the other markets, you don't have to worry exactly where it's at in terms of the management because you're going to sell it on the route.
Yeah.
Yes. We only in Houston we are holding some properties, but outside Houston it's mostly that.
So when you start doing a lot of owner financing and you don't have asset, you actually have notes, right? So note is also an asset, but you don't have a property, you have a note, you have a piece of paper. So once you kind of go away from rentals and go towards notes more and more, you cannot expense many things in a year because you don't have anything to expense on. So we need to keep that balance. So outside of Houston, 100% owner financing. Houston will be probably 50-50.
So you're saying keep
goal.
some rentals for the tax write-offs,
Write-offs,
for that
yeah.
depreciation, and okay, yeah, I know lifestyles is really big on when you buy those commercial properties, when you buy those rentals. you're making that income, but it's tax free
Yeah.
because of all the write-offs you have. So that's awesome.
And we have good relationships with a lot of banks who are okay to park our notes. So, I mean, not everybody can develop those relationships initially in their career. It's just, you need to like do your time basically.
Yeah.
So we did like a lot of rentals and manage them. It sucks the life out of you to manage so many rentals.
I've been
but
dealing with
yeah.
this plumbing issue on a rental, and it's
Yeah.
tough right now.
But once you get over that hump, banks start respecting you more, and banks know that you've sustained your business for so long. Now they are more open to working with you on like other things, because getting a loan on a house is easy; anybody can get it.
Okay.
But getting a loan on a loan,
On a note.
it's
We were
hard.
talking about that, yeah.
I mean,
That's what we've been doing
Yeah.
recently.
But in theory, I mean, it should be a basic concept that a banker should understand what a bank is. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, you're becoming the bank.
Right.
You have an asset, which is the note, and you have those guaranteed monthly payments.
Yeah.
And you have, and then a lot of times you have equity in that note. So
Yeah.
say you have a note on the property's worth 200,000, you probably have a note for,
they're always-
less than that. So 150, 170, 180, whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? There's probably equity, and then how much a month are y'all making on these notes on average?
on an average, maybe $1,000 per note.
1,000, 1,500 per note.
But if it's 100% held in cash, once we collateralize it,
It goes down.
right now interest rates are high, so we are we are selling the house at 11%,
What if
and
you
we are
have
getting the money at 7%.
So you're saying $1,000 a month per house, even if you have a loan on it?
Yeah.
Or if you're saying if you own it free and clear, 1,000?
So
It goes down with the
yeah,
loan.
if it's a brand new house, right,
Mm-hmm.
bought in 2022, then the cash flow won't be that much. But some of our properties we bought it for $80,000, $90,000, and then now the valuation is at $200,000, $220,000.
So
That's when the cash flow is in fact even close to $2,000. Some
Yeah.
of them.
Wow.
So it's a combination of three things. One is we purchased it wholesale, put a note on it during COVID at 3% interest rate.
And there's some
Okay.
equity there.
And equity grew by 100 grand or 150 grand in some cases. So that free equity is making us full 11%, and the underlying note amount is making us 11 minus 3, 8%. So those are massive cash flow deals.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I looked at a mortgage statement that somebody sent me yesterday on a subject to deal,
Yeah.
and I saw it was a 7%. They were trying to sell the deal subject to, but the underlying lien was at 7%.
Yeah.
And it was a really actually a cheap house. It was in 7. Anyways, like a blue collar area, and the full payment was like $850. You know what? Guess what the principal pay down was per month on a 7% interest?
Probably
Oh.
5%.
$77.
Oh, yeah.
$77. So correct me if I'm wrong though. One of your ways you're making money on these wraps is your buyer, their note is getting paid down very slow compared to yours, right? Because you're paying a lot more principal than they're paying, right?
You are paying more principal. Well, I mean,
Or am I
we
looking at that
manage
wrong?
amortization the same way.
Same way.
Okay.
So in their note, they are paying a higher principal because their note amount is higher. Our
Yeah.
note amount is lower compared to theirs because. So that's like I
how-
said, like
how the
that's
cash- where
one.
the cash
Like
flow comes from.
everything that we had as rentals, once we convert them to notes, will be massive cash flow because we put a note at really low interest rate back in
Yeah.
COVID times. Then there is our current flips. Like let's say we have a flip, we purchased it cash, we fixed it up, and if we sold it in the market, we'll net 50 grand, but now we are not going to sell it in the market, we are going to owner finance it. So we keep that profit tax free or defer it.
So
Yeah.
most of our listings now, we list it owner finance only.
Yeah.
Can you give people maybe 1 or 2 tips. Say they're a flipper right now, and they want to do their first owner finance deal, and maybe like 2 tips to selling their first property owner finance.
I think the most important is the property, because you're selling this at anywhere between 8 to 10 or 11%. So anything if you go above 250, 300 is very difficult to find the buyer, because the payment goes exponentially. So
Difficult but not impossible.
Not impossible.
We have, I think I showed you this one. We have this one in it's like 7,000 square foot house that
Big
yeah, we would love to owner finance that. The price points, I think we're listed at like 890 or something, 875 to 900. It's a little bit harder. You're saying it's a little bit harder to find a
So
buyer.
the highest owner finance that we ever done is $650,000. But that was, that was our Airbnb, had a big house, big pool.
Yeah.
It was doing well, but somebody wanted to see it.
It presented really well.
And
like
they
when
made an
came.
offer. But other than that, everything is under 300.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. The highest is probably 300.
And I know people have all these like weird ideas in their head, like no, nobody'd ever pay 10% interest to buy a house. I actually think that it's a better market now for it because regular rates are 7-8%, so it's not even much more. It's probably even better for this business.
No, so owner finance interest from investors has like gone up tremendously. Like all the markets we are studying right now, the listings used to be, for example, in San Antonio, there used to be 40-50 listings for owner financing. Now there is 150 or 200 listings on the market
Yeah.
for owner financing.
They have tripled in last month.
But again, we like to believe that we don't really have competition because we have all these guerrilla tactics that we use. That those 200 listings don't really matter because these people don't know what they're doing. They're just somebody told them to click a button and say, okay, owner financing available.
You need to have a right team selling, so there's a lot of things. We can do a separate session for it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I would, we could talk for days, but...
And I mean, you and us, like we went to Scott Horn's event. I mean, so you have to like build your knowledge like that. Like
it's a process.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not as maybe as like straightforward as wholesaling, but it's, it makes sense. I think it makes sense. It's something you learn. Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Where's the best place for people to reach out to y'all if they have a deal, things like that, and just to connect?
I would say just Facebook Messenger would be the most ideal. We are all over Facebook. We are always looking, checking, and I mean, I can even, if you want, you can post our phone numbers. For this is going out to Houston wholesalers. We'll post our phone numbers in the comments, and you can reach out to us anytime. And our company email is info@stepuphomebuyers.com.
All right, guys, really appreciate it. We should be having a Flip Texas meetup next month. I'm going to check with Aldridge on the exact date. I believe it's November 10th, and I believe we're going to have Power Women in Real Estate or Women in Real Estate next month. So definitely make sure y'all are in the Flip Texas Facebook group. We have a lot of wholesale deals posted in there, a lot of networking with agents, lenders, everyone in the real estate business, real estate investing business. Appreciate it, guys, and talk with y'all soon.